the rock and roll lifestyle to the very, very fullest.
You know, whatever the bill was, it was all worth it. It's all rock and roll. It's all being on tour.
L'alcool devient une étiquette et leur vaut un surnom.
Alcoholica.
Alcoholica. Alcoholica.
I'd be so ripped out of my head. Next time we came into town, you know, there were boyfriends and dads looking for me.
Mais les tragédies n'épargnent pas les stars du hard rock.
The road horrors, the deaths, the things, the breakings of arms and burnings and everything, they were just challenges for us.
Un spectacle pyrotechnique tourne à la catastrophe.
James Hetfield looks like that torch that they carry up the stairs to light the Olympic fire.
Le bassiste Cliff Burton meurt dans un accident d'autocar.
And I turned around and I saw Cliff's legs sticking out from underneath the bus.
Malgré les épreuves, le groupe élabore un heavy metal brut, sans compromis et parfaitement maîtrisé.
We're selfish and honest about it. That's the two things that I think keep Metallica going, honesty and selfishness. We're doing this for ourselves.
Au programme de l'émission, le groupe marginal adulé devenu l'un des phénomènes les plus influents de l'histoire du hard rock, Metallica. Metallica devient si populaire, c'est à ses propres conditions. Lorsqu'il commence à enregistrer des samples pour la radio et à avoir ses propres clips, le groupe occupe déjà une place de choix dans l'histoire du heavy metal.
They were playing arenas before MTV even heard of them.
Radio was nowhere, MTV, definitely, big no-no. No one would help us, so we played live. We played till we dropped.
La musique de Metallica est chargée d'images violentes exprimant le malaise adolescent, le suicide, la drogue, la maladie mentale ou les conflits politiques. Quant au texte, il s'attaque au tabou dans le plus pur esprit rebelle du rock.
A battery works out positive and negative, you know? So we were very good at the negative stuff.
Au cœur du succès de Metallica, on trouve 4 personnalités très diverses mais capables d'unir leurs forces.
We grew up together and it was like family, and you're fighting brothers, you're, loving brothers.
I've been together with James Hetfield for half my life. There's a tremendous amount of respect for each other, even though none of us would ever comp to it.
They still are very close and still very compatible, and it is their baby.
James is like, I would say, the creative driving force.
Anything that Metallica's going to stamp their name on has to be up to his standard before it'll happen.
The 4 of us bring something different to the table. And when it comes down to reading a contract or, sorting out some business thing, we all look at Lars.
And he does a large part of the arranging also of the music.
Jason really developed into the live guy. He is the never-ending connection with the fans. He'll stop the fan and go looking for people to sign autographs,
He's the first guy that comes to me and tells me if I'm losing it.
And Kirk, the slightly insane free spirit.
Eccentric, Quirk Hammett. He's the spiritual, that kind of vibe.
And the only way to maintain a band that have 4 characters that are so different from each other is to allow each other the space to exist and do what they want.
And we knew from day one that this was going to be our lives. And we were going to make this thing work, no matter what.
Né à Downey, en Californie, James Hetfield a grandi au sein d'une famille stricte, adepte de la science chrétienne, qu'un divorce viendra briser. James est encore adolescent lorsqu'il perd sa mère, emportée par un cancer.
Doctors and hospitals are kind of like taboo, and with the help of God, you will get better. You're kind of going with it, but you feel it's not quite right, and you're at school, and okay, now it's time for health class, and I have to get up and leave. Learning about the body wasn't necessary. This is a shell, and what's true is your soul and all this. So actually leaving class and then getting, all the little kids. So that was the beginning of alienation, I believe, as a child.
Back then, James was like the most introverted person you've ever seen. He didn't really talk. Anytime you'd see him, he'd just, hey, how's it going? Pick up his guitar and just start jamming away,
Lars Ulrich naît en 1963 à l'autre bout de la planète. Son père est un joueur de tennis renommé au Danemark et on encourage Lars à suivre ses traces.
The thing was that in Denmark, I was somebody, you know, ranked sort of somewhere in the top 10s in my junior years and so on. When I came to the States in like 1980, I was basically like, I mean, I wasn't even ranked in the top 10 on the block I lived on.
In the beginning, he was sort of kind of an air guitar guy, you know, and going completely, you know, crazy with his broomstick or whatever, or a kind of a racket, you know. Of course, a tennis racket can also be sort of an air guitar, right?
Drums had been the kind of hobby away from tennis, and at the tail end of 1979, there was what was called a new wave of British heavy metal. Iron Maiden, Def Leppard, Motorhead, Saxon, Tigers of Pantang, Diamond Head, Angel Witch, you know, the list goes on. It was the attitude. The attitude came from Motorhead.
Rock and roll is supposed to bring you crazed joy and rebellion for no apparent reason, for its own sake, right? That's what it started out as, music to fish your parents off with.
C'est en 1981 à Los Angeles que James et Lars se rencontrent grâce à une petite annonce.
You know, under heavy metal, there were two guys, and it was me and him. Lars had this drum kit. It was 10 different colors, one cymbal. He hit it, it kept falling over.
Finally, he sits down, and he's just like, I'm going, you sure this guy played drums before?
Les lacunes musicales de Lars sont compensées par ses relations. L'un de ses amis réalise en effet une compilation de groupes locaux de heavy metal.
Lars called me up and said, hey, if I put together a band, can I be on your compilation album? I said, yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Lars had really had a spot on the record, but no band. So, in my kind of will and maybe greediness to get going in this thing, said, okay, we'll hook up.
Afin de participer à la compilation, le groupe engage un nouveau guitariste, Dave Mustaine.
I went in there and I set up my gear. I started warming up, and these guys were all in the other room. I walked in there and I said, come on, let's go. And they said, you got the job. And I went, well, that's easy.
En 1981, les deux guitares enragées de Metallica prennent d'assaut le milieu du glam et du rock plus sage.
We weren't doing what they were doing. They were playing pretty much cheeky music because they wanted the girls, and all we wanted to do was rule the world.
If you came here to see spandex and big hair, this ain't your band. And that was kind of, became our war cry, you know?
Dans les clubs de Los Angeles, on est indifférent au groupe, ce qui ne fait que jeter de l'huile sur le feu.
That developed our style. We were up on stage, we wanted attention. We're gonna play louder, we're gonna play faster.
Our whole existence pretty much was for guitar dominating the world and getting liquored up.
À l'hiver 1981, Metallica participe à un concert organisé par le magazine Metal Mania à San Francisco, une ville où foisonnent les nouveaux groupes de heavy metal.
Everybody just wanted to make the most obnoxious, loudest, scare your parents, annoy people, fastest music you could.
That heavy crunch stuff was way new, and everybody loved it, you know. It tickles your same kind of funny bone that makes you break windows when you're a kid.
Parmi les fans du genre, Kirk Hammett, guitariste d'Exodus.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was the most original, heaviest, fastest thing I had ever seen in my life.
De retour à Los Angeles, la tension monte au sein du groupe et les problèmes d'alcool de Dave Mustaine s'aggravent.
There was always some clashing between Ron and Dave. Ron couldn't hang. He didn't want to be a part of it anymore.
Très vite, Ron McGovney laisse la place à un nouveau bassiste.
Lars had asked me, they were kind of looking around for another bass player, and he asked me if I knew anybody. I said, well, why don't you guys come down and see this band Trom at the Troubadour? They're pretty cool. I think you might like the bass player.
When I first saw Cliff Burton, I'd never seen anybody quite like him on stage.
And his head banging on stage, I mean, nobody banged like him. It was insane. I remember the first time I saw them play with him, I was like, oh my God, look at that guy.
The next day after a performance, he'd get up and, oh God, my neck, I can't understand. Cliff, what do you mean? Your neck, you're bouncing your head up and down all night long, and you wonder why your neck hurts. So, but anyway, he kind of smiled.
You know, after 6 months of courting him, it just came to the point where he would join the band on that one condition, which was if we wanted him in the band, Metallica goes to Northern California.
LA sucks! We really had no problem with that. LA wasn't treating us very well at all.
Au printemps 1983, les membres de Metallica partent pour San Francisco. Ils louent une petite maison à El Cerrito et si les temps sont durs, l'endroit est idéal pour le style de musique qu'ils ont choisi.
We just moved all the furniture out of the house and invite 50 headbanging friends over, put Venom on the stereo and just thrash the place, you know?
By the time you walk in the club, you just be like, metal rules! That guy's got a blonde stripe in his hair. Kill him, kiss that Motley Crue creep. You know, it's like that. At one point, we were tearing people's shirts off that said bands we didn't like.
There was kids with denim jackets on that had Metallica patches on the back, and the support band was playing, and they turned around, they turned their backs on them, and we're standing there doing this, you know? And it's like, wow, they're loyal to us. They're our people, you know?
Après la pause, jour sombre à New York.
We didn't have a lot of money. Just a piece of bologna on your hand, just eat it.
Loser's lunch, we called it. It was bologna on hand because they didn't even have white bread.
L'accident tragique qui menace l'avenir du groupe.
And I heard everyone screaming except for Cliff.
Et une carrière qui manque de partir en fumée.
A big colored flame goes right up under me.
And his skin is bubbling like on the Toxic Avenger.
La suite, dans un instant. Mace présente son groupe Harlem World. Stace, Menno, Honeycomb, Blinky Blink, Loon et Sugar nous arrivent avec leur époustouflant premier album The Movement, incluant le succès I Like It. Avec artistes invités tels que Nas, Kelly Price et Carl Thomas. The Movement en vente maintenant.
On a tous un petit côté coloré. Eh bien, voilà l'autre. De tout nouveaux jeux couleurs pour le Game Boy couleur, tels que Tetris DX, Wario Land 2, Zelda DX, Looney Tunes Carrot Crazy, Quest for Camelot, R-Type Plus, Super Mario et Conker's Pocket Tales. Tes jeux Game Boy vont en mettre plein la vue avec le nouveau Game Boy couleur. Maintenant, tes jeux sont aussi colorés que tu peux l'être.
Parcours ton monde avec Bee-Weez, le scooter d'avant-garde conçu par Yamaha. Bee-Weez, un scooter facile à conduire, un look dynamique pour 2 passagers. Phare avant double, frein avant à disque, Bee-Weez t'offre la sécurité routière et la liberté sans compromis.
Check, check, check.
Avec les scooters Bee-Weez de Yamaha, ton aventure commence là où les autres s'arrêtent.
The Offspring est de retour avec son nouvel album Americana. Musique Plus propose une émission spéciale avec clips, entrevues, etc.
L'Amérique selon The Offspring, en rappel, dimanche 28 mars, 14h20.
Le déjà-vu, c'est dépassé. C'est pour ça que j'aime le Grand Curl. Le premier mascara de L'Oréal qui recourbe vos cils de lui-même. Vraiment, cette technologie recourbe vos cils et les allonge. Alors laissez tomber votre recourbe-cils et sautez sur le nouveau Grand Curl de L'Oréal.
Si vous avez aimé l'album de Mace, vous adorerez son groupe. Mace présente le groupe Harlem World. The Movement, en magasin le mardi 16 mars. « 1983, Metallica a rejoint l'excentrique Cliff Burton à San Francisco. À cette époque, les fans s'échangent des cassettes sous le manteau et s'informent ainsi des nouveautés indispensables.
A band that would never play once would get famous around the world within a few months just from the copies of their demo getting around all around the world.
Peu après que Lars ait fait circuler la maquette 7 titres de No Life Till Leather, le groupe fait fureur dans le milieu underground.
That they had this huge, giant following before they even really had a record out.
La maquette finit par atterrir entre les mains de Johnny et Marsha Zazula, propriétaires d'une boutique de disques d'occasion appelée Rock'n'Roll Heaven. C'est la capitale du heavy metal de la côte Est.
Metallica was the answer to America's prayers. They were the first band we heard that really made America look
They gave
good.
the American headbangers something to hang their hat on.
Johnny Z se propose de gérer le groupe et de lui décrocher un contrat.
So we come out to New York and we meet this guy who was giving us, $75 to drive across the country. It's like, hi, we're Metallica. Hi, I'm Johnny Z. Well, John, come here. Well, you see the guy with the Dave Mustaine? We're actually going to get rid of him next week. Whoa.
That trip was very detrimental to my leaving the band. When we would get drunk, they would get silly and I would get really violent. And violent people and silly people don't mix when they're inebriated.
They came to the East Coast, hungry with a goal and a mission. We were ready to guide their career. We had shows for them, but we were not people of means. And they wanted to rehearse, and they wanted to play. But we said, what are we going to do? So Anthrax had a place, a little rehearsal place in Queens.
We set him up with a room at this place, the Music building in Jamaica, Queens, which was basically what would be now considered like a crack house.
We had the added luxury of also living there because we couldn't afford to live anywhere else.
We had a toaster oven and an igloo cooler that we lived out of, all four of us in this place.
On a good day, we would sneak down to a local McDonald's. On a bad day,
it was loser's lunch, we called it. It was bologna on hand because they didn't even have white bread. I mean, nothing.
We were sleeping on U-Haul blankets. That was us. And we all got up early one morning and walked into the other room where Dave was sleeping and...
Shake, shake, shake. Dave wakes up and rolls over. What's going on, guys?
I look up and I see the four of them. They said, you're out of the band. And I said, what, no warning? No second chance?
The famous line, Dave, you're out of the band. When's my plane leave?
Well, you're spending the next 4 days on a Greyhound bus that leaves in 45 minutes to pack your together and let's go to the bus station before you even know what hit you. And that was that.
À peine Dave Mustaine est-il parti que Kirk Hammett arrive pour passer une audition.
I walked in, and those guys were sleeping. And I looked at my watch, and it was like 6 o'clock at night, and they were just getting up. And I was thinking, how rock and roll.
The first song we played was Seek and Destroy. And Kirk pulled off this solo. It was like, things are going to be all right, man.
And we went to the studio and recorded Kill 'Em All. From then on, I thought, well, I guess I'm in the band.
We parlayed everything we had to make this Kill 'Em All record. We thought this was an amazing record. It was a classic.
We have a debut album out on Megaforce Records. It's called Kill 'Em All. We're glad to kill all you tonight. Who wants this fucker?
Kill 'Em All, le premier album de Metallica, est immédiatement adopté par le milieu du heavy metal à travers le monde. Les ventes atteignent 300 000 copies et le groupe passe presque toute l'année 83 en tournée en Amérique et en Europe.
They lived it, they breathed it, they slept it, metal. And the kids did the same exact thing.
We were very proud that we were four regular guys in street clothes getting up there and jamming.
Why should we change? We're on stage. We're not trying to be something big and fancy, It's just us doing what we do. Let's keep it that way.
Dans un instant, la tragédie.
The sound of screeching brakes and being flipped around like a piece of clothes in a dryer.
L'explosion.
I'm going, oh my God, it's over. Oh my God, our band is done.
Et l'émeute à Montréal.
People just storming into the grandstands and destroying everything.
Turn over cop cars, burning everything in sight.
Mace présente son groupe Harlem World. Stace, Menno, Honeycomb, Blinky Blink, Loon et Sugar nous arrivent avec leur époustouflant premier album The Movement, incluant le succès I Like It. Avec artistes invités tels que Nas, Kelly Price et Carl Thomas. The Movement, en vente maintenant.
Imaginez la nourriture sans diversité. La même nourriture banale, sans couleur. Pas très appétissant, n'est-ce pas? Maintenant, imaginez que ce poêlon est la planète Terre et ses aliments sont tous les différentes races qui l'occupent. Quoi? Est-ce que vous en voulez? OK.
Le 21 mars, journée internationale pour l'élimination de la discrimination raciale.
On ne voit pas que c'est du fond de teint. On ne sent pas que c'est du fond de teint.
Une nouvelle génération de naturel.
Le fond de teint True Illusion de Maybelline. Certains fonds de teint peuvent faire des plaques et ça se voit. La formule exclusive micro-réseau de True Illusion se répartit avec légèreté. Unifie et cache subtilement les imperfections pour un teint impeccable sans avoir l'air maquillé. True Illusion en fond de teint liquide et maintenant en nouveau fond de teint compact de Maybelline. Elle a quelque chose en plus. C'est peut-être Maybelline.
Amateurs de sensations fortes, attention! En collaboration avec CKMF et Saint-Michel Sport, Amusement 222 fête son 22e anniversaire. Du 1er mars au 1er avril, rendez-vous dans l'une de nos 8 succursales. Chaque jour, courez la chance de gagner de nombreux prix, dont un voyage pour 2 personnes en République dominicaine. Amusement 222 vous en met plein la vue avec les jeux vidéo les plus sophistiqués, plusieurs tables de billard, des loteries vidéo, des simulateurs de Formule 1, ainsi qu'un bar billard et Internet. Amusement 222, venez vivre l'ultime sensation. Parcours ton monde avec Biwiz, le scooter d'avant-garde conçu par Yamaha. Biwiz, un scooter facile à conduire, un look dynamique pour 2 passagers. Bar avant double, frein avant à disque, Biwiz t'offre la sécurité routière et la liberté sans compromis.
Check, check, check.
Avec les scooters Biwiz de Yamaha, ton aventure commence là où les autres s'arrêtent.
Si vous avez aimé l'album de Mace, vous adorerez son groupe. Mace présente le groupe Harlem World. The Movement, en magasin le mardi 16 mars. En 1984, Metallica est devenu le groupe favori de la scène du nouveau heavy metal américain. Lorsque son deuxième album, Ride the Lightning, sort sous étiquette Elektra, il est presque aussitôt disque d'or.
Because of the buzz that they'd created live, it just worked out perfectly for Elektra. So it was one of those things that felt like a no-brainer. Just we put out the record, and because of word of mouth, kids just started buying it.
En tournée, l'attirance excessive du groupe pour l'alcool devient partie intégrante de son image de marque et lui vaut un surnom.
Alcoholica.
Alcoholica.
Alcoholica justifies absolutely.
It basically grew out of our love for vodka.
They were never a drug band. They were never, you know, like the American bands all want to get high. They like to drink.
We had discovered this lovely after-dinner drink called Jägermeister. There was a certain opiate in it that got you extremely violent.
You'd have people like literally walking into walls, taking their clothes off. I mean, this stuff was lethal.
Standing up on the bar, taking a piss, whatever, you know, getting your nuts out at a restaurant.
I guess it's sort of like a East Bay attitude, you know, crush, kill, destroy, smash.
You know, whatever the bill was, it was all worth it. It's all rock and roll. It's all being on tour.
La vie à 100 à l'heure des tournées ne met pas pour autant un frein à la créativité de Metallica qui sort un 3e album au printemps 86 intitulé Master of Puppets. Il se vend à 1 million d'exemplaires sans même bénéficier de l'appui de la radio ou d'un vidéoclip. Puis, pendant 6 mois, Metallica part en tournée avec Ozzy Osbourne, jouant pour la dernière fois en première partie.
They really give me a run for my money every night. The crowd were going nuts for him, you know, stealing the show most of the night. They were really hard to follow.
En tournée, le groupe plonge dans les excès typiques du rock.
And when you're 22 years old and all you want to do is get laid and get drunk and live all those excesses that you hear about or read about, and all of a sudden they're right in front of you.
We'd come right off stage into the showers and there'd be, you know, a whole locker room shower filled with women. I mean, how great is that?
That happened. Plenty. Tub tarts, shower, 8 women washing you down at once, you know? Not a bad feeling.
You have a real sense of invulnerability when you're on tour because you're with this group of people, you know, a group of guys, and you really become, seriously, you feel like Superman. You're on this bus, nothing can touch you.
Mais la chevauchée fantastique de Metallica ne dure pas. Le 27 septembre 1986, le groupe fait le trajet en car entre Stockholm et Copenhague.
On that European tour, you know, we had a really bad bus.
These particular buses weren't purpose-built that we have now. They have normal windows like a passenger coach, and the bunks are just bolted in. Then they put cardboard over the windows.
Plus tôt ce soir-là, Kirk et Cliff décident de régler la question des couchettes en jouant aux cartes.
The first card that Cliff picked was the ace of spades, and he looked at me and said, "I want your bunk." And I said, "Fine, take my bunk, I'll sleep up front. That's probably better anyway, you know." Later on that night, about 5 or 6 in the morning, I heard a skidding, I heard a vibration, and then this motion. I thought we were going off a cliff.
He overcorrected to get back onto the road, and as he did, the back end came around this way, and it started chomp, chomp, chomp.
The sound of screeching brakes and being flipped around like a piece of clothes in a dryer.
Scott woke up, hot coffee getting poured all over me, you know, from the coffee machine, and, you know, the bus was on its side.
What happened? Is the bus gonna blow up?
Oh, I jumped out of the bus and took off. Did the 100-yard dash in about 7 seconds flat.
And we're standing out there in our underwear and, you know, 10 below.
And I heard everyone screaming except for Cliff. And I thought, oh my God, something's wrong.
Seeing the bus driver just, you know, freaking, frantic.
And I turned around and I saw Cliff's legs sticking out from underneath the bus.
I went to, you know, pull him out, wake him up or whatever. It's like, you know, he's not moving.
And the driver walked over and started pulling on the blanket that was underneath the bus next to Cliff. And I said, "What are you doing?"
I grabbed him. Don't you take that away from him.
Malgré tout, on espère que Cliff sera sauvé.
A crane turned up, a big crane with a jib and all that, and they hooked up a chain around the bus, and they picked the bus up.
There were still people trapped under the bus, but everyone else was okay.
I don't know if Cliff was dead at this point or not, because the bus actually slipped back after they picked it up. They lifted it to pull him out, and it slipped back and landed again on the floor.
After that, you know, I was in such shock that everything else for the next 3 or 4 hours, I can't even remember.
Kirk and James yelling at the driver.
"What did you do? What did you do?"
What happened? You know, what's going on? You know, is this guy drunk or la la la? Oh, we hit some black ice. And I recall in my underwear, you know, and socks, walking for miles, looking for this black ice, walking back on. Where's this black ice? I don't see any black ice. And I wanted to kill this guy. I was gonna end him there.
C'est en Suède, à l'aube du samedi 27 septembre 1986, que Cliff Burton, 24 ans, tire sa dernière révérence.
He just got thrown out the window and boom, the bus landed on him. And basically, by all accounts, I mean, he never woke up.
You know, to this day, I just think, you know, it could have been me, it couldn't have been me, but it's never left me to this day.
You always feel protected on tour. Nothing bad can happen like this. It's not allowed. You know what I mean? This is rock and roll, man. Nobody dies. But they do, and it had happened, and it was hard to grasp that.
Drinkers we were. We went back to the hotel and just drank, you know?
I remember at 4 o'clock in the morning, I could hear James down on the street, drunk, screaming, "Cliff, Cliff, where are you?" And when I heard that, I just broke into tears, you know?
Quelques heures plus tard, la nouvelle éclate aux États-Unis et bouleverse les fans de Metallica. Parmi eux, le bassiste de Flotsam and Jetsam, Jason Newsted.
I remember tears hitting the newspaper. Killed in Sweden, Metallica bassist Cliff Burton, 24 years old or whatever, and I'm just lost it.
Lars, James et Kirk retournent à San Francisco pour assister aux obsèques de leurs collègues et amis.
Lars took over from then on, and you know,
in all fairness to Lars, without Lars Ulrich, that band wouldn't be where they are today.
Déjà engagé à faire une tournée au Japon un mois plus tard, le groupe fait passer 40 auditions à San Francisco.
I can remember those auditions just being really, really bad because we were drinking throughout the whole thing. We were still grieving, obviously.
We tried out quite a few people. Les Claypool from Primus was actually one of them.
Lars was all, "You're not used to playing this kind of music, are you?" And I was like, "No, hey, you know, you guys want to jam on some Isley Brothers tunes, you know?" And nobody laughed at my joke.
He was too good. He was like, "Okay, you get your own thing," you know.
They never called me, and I wept like a little girl.
Well, a guy would come in that just didn't look right or whatever, plug the bass in for 20 seconds, next. I mean, it was cold. And I'm just going whole, I was shaking in my boots.
Jason, we thought, was the man.
Kind of the punter vibe, but he had the energy that we were looking for. We sat down and we decided he's going to be the guy, so we took him to this place, Tommy's Joint in San Francisco, where we kind of like to hang, and took him out to grub, and Lars and I went in the bathroom to piss together. It's like, let's go tell him now, okay.
Lars comes out, "Do you want a job?" And I go, "Nah, I guess." And he goes, "Okay, you're going to be bass roadie." And I'm like, you know, like, he goes, "No, you got it, man, you're in. You want to play with us?" And I'm like, "Shh."
Jason's jumping off the table and doing backflips and all this stuff. It's like, okay, all right, man, you know. But soon after that was the hazing.
We gave him a pretty tough time because we didn't want him to think that he just like waltzed into a perfect situation, you know.
And then when a period of calm hits, that's when the reality starts setting in. And then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. And then the emotions start coming out.
You know, I hate to say this, but Jason became the scapegoat for you know, the tragic experience with Cliff.
Toujours hanté par le souvenir de Cliff, Metallica s'envole pour le Japon en automne 86. Mais la transition due à l'arrivée d'un nouveau bassiste ne se fait pas sans difficulté.
We were all trying to see his boiling point, you know, or how much he can take, you know.
We told everyone he was gay. We would go out to the hotel bar and like buy drinks for everyone and charge it to Jason's room.
And then we went to sushi that night. Jace, that green stuff, it's mint sauce. Put some of that, you'll love it. Wasabi.
But he kept walking into every single landmine, every single trap we set for him. And that just made it more and more fun.
Part of loving him means that he has to accept us for who we are, which is not easy. I mean, everyone thinks, wow, this guy's landed the greatest gig, etc. On the one hand, yes, but on the other hand, think of all the baggage that he's got to plow through, plus he's got those three.
Aux prises avec la peine causée par la perte de Cliff, Metallica trouve en studio un exutoire à sa rage. Leur album Injustice for All est progressiste, désespéré et violent. Ils déclarent que le rêve américain est mort et provoque immédiatement une réponse enthousiaste de la part des fans de heavy metal.
With Metallica, people truly feel a part of something. They feel a part of a unit. They feel a part of an army. They really are into participating with everybody else in making this big noise back to us. Sometimes so intense that it's louder than the PA system.
They'll leave a venue like at 4 o'clock in the morning and there's kids still waiting out there. It doesn't make a difference how tired they are. They'll talk to every single one, sign every single piece of paper. They're incredibly gracious and generous, and their fans know it and appreciate it.
We're just 4 lucky fans that got together and started playing. This could be you.
En octobre 1990, Metallica enregistre son 5e album avec le réalisateur Bob Rock.
So I saw them live, and I was very surprised to see how powerful they were.
He came to us and said, look, you haven't captured what you're capable of on a record yet.
So I just wanted them to sound better. And basically, by sounding better, hopefully the audience would get bigger and more people could get into Metallica.
Say your prayers, little one, don't forget my son, to include everyone.
L'enregistrement dure plus de 10 mois et coûte plus d'1 million de dollars. Quant au conflit personnel, ils ne font rien pour arranger les choses.
Throughout the whole recording, we were so anal about everything, so protected about everything, so guarded about everything, that it created a lot of tension.
We forgot why we were there. to create and play music.
By the time the album was finished, 3 out of 4 of us were divorced.
Metallica surmonte ses difficultés créatrices et sort grandi de l'expérience. Son 5e album, un album éponyme, sort en août 1991. La controverse que crée sa pochette renvoie l'éthique de Metallica qui veut que le groupe échappe à toutes les normes. Pochette et logo noir, on joue la carte du mystère.
We've got a bone to pick with these two. You know, it's called Black Album. It's called Black Album. Now, where did the idea come from to do an all-black album, Metallica representatives?
L'album noir se classe immédiatement numéro 1 au palmarès de Billboard et est certifié double platine en moins de 2 semaines. Il se vend à 18 millions d'exemplaires dans le monde et contribue à attirer un public diversifié vers un heavy metal plus brut.
When you have a record that won't go away, it gives you the opportunity to keep touring on it.
Basically turned into a challenge for us, another challenge. Hell, Metallica, we'll tour 2 years. Screw it. We got the endurance.
Infatigable, le groupe fait une tournée de 2 ans et demi, donnant plus de 300 concerts à travers le monde.
Obviously, they're known for touring and touring and touring and touring, but in this kind of music, they proved to be the ultimate road dogs.
Since day one, that's how we got our fan base. We got to love playing live, and touring was our thing.
Le groupe donne un concert à Moscou devant plus d'un demi-million de fans de rock.
Russian boys running up, hugging you, going, "We love Metallica," you know. We've been waiting our whole lives, and the energy that we got from them was just so amazing.
Mais avec l'apparition encore fragile de la perestroïka, l'enthousiasme de la foule est confronté à la violence de l'armée et des incidents éclatent.
It's all military, beating kids down, just whacking them. They don't understand what a release is at a show. They don't know what's going on here.
Pendant le concert, les membres du groupe ne sont pas conscients de la violence ambiante. Ce n'est qu'après qu'ils réalisent à quel point elle a fait des ravages.
I believe there was like 200 rapes, 11 deaths, people just beaten to a pulp.
Au printemps 1992, on prévoit une tournée pour l'été suivant avec Guns N' Roses.
We wanted to get the 2 biggest bands together on one bill and do a stadium tour across America.
I'd always had an infatuation with Guns N' Roses. Always had an infatuation with bands that are unpredictable and dangerous.
We learned a lot that summer. We learned what not to do as a rock band.
La tournée connaît des nombreuses ratées avec annulation et modification de dernière minute en raison des incessants problèmes de gorge dont souffre le chanteur de Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose. Puis le 8 août 1992, tandis que les 2 groupes donnent un concert au Stade olympique de Montréal, une double catastrophe vient tout gâcher.
During Fade to Black, I'm up there playing the part, and these colored flames are going off. I'm a little confused on where I should be. I walk forward, I walk back.
We have these flashes of magnesium that burns at 1,200 degrees, 1,800 degrees, who knows, but hot enough to melt metal.
The pyro guy doesn't see me that I've walked back out there. A big colored flame goes right up under me. And instantly I, squint and turn.
James Hetfield looks like that torch that they carry up the stairs to light the Olympic fire.
So I'm burnt, all my arm, my hand completely down to the bone. Side of my face, hair gone, part of my back.
I said, "You all right, man?" He looked at me and he was shaking and he brought up his hand and I could literally see the skin rising off his hand and blister.
We see some guy come up and dump him with water and then cover him.
Well, that felt great for a second. Then I looked down and watched the skin just rising and things going wrong.
Total confusion. And adding to the mix, 50,000 people.
This is in Montreal, French speaking everywhere. We're trying to explain what's going on. Can we get to a hospital, please? A hospital, yes.
And his skin is bubbling like on the Toxic Avenger.
They're calling, for an ambulance. And, the security guys are kind of walking around, and the one guy bumps into my hand, I remember. And I just lost it. I screamed. I punched him right in the nuts.
And I'm going, oh, my God, it's over. Oh, my God, our band is done.
Lars revient sur scène et tente de calmer la foule.
There was an incident with the pyrotechnics. Unfortunately, James is on his way to the hospital right now, and we're very sorry, but we can't continue the concert for you guys tonight.
This is pain I've never felt in my whole life. And it won't go away. I'm freaking at this point, you know. Anxiety, you know. We got to get moving.
We got him into ER. The doctors and nurses, they were great. They cut off his rings, his fingers were swelling. It was not a pretty sight. Because with the pain he was still going through and the unknown future that this was pointing the way to, one of his first thoughts was getting a replacement guitar guy to make sure the tour didn't have to stop.
Pris dans une flamme de près de 4 mètres et d'une température de 1700 degrés, James souffre de brûlures au 2e et 3e degré à la main gauche et aux 2 bras. Il survit, mais son avenir avec le groupe est incertain. Pendant ce temps, au stade olympique, la foule attend Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses could have come out and saved the day by going on and playing a 3-hour blistering set.
That didn't happen. He took his whole band off stage, and that's when all hell broke loose.
Après la pause, colère et violence à Montréal.
People just storming into the grandstands and destroying everything.
Fighting the police, burning everything inside.
Puis Metallica change d'image, mais pas de ton.
Metallica is all about music, not the length of our hair.
Mace présente son groupe Harlem World. Stace, Menno, Honeycomb, Blinky Blink, Loon et Sugar nous arrivent avec leur époustouflant premier album The Movement, incluant le succès I Like It. Avec artistes invités tels que Nas, Kelly Price et Carl Thomas. The Movement en vente maintenant.
Le déjà vu, c'est dépassé. C'est pour ça que j'aime le grand curl. Le premier mascara de L'Oréal qui recourbe vos cils de lui-même. Vraiment, cette technologie recourbe vos cils et les allonge. Alors laissez tomber votre recourbe-cils et sautez sur le nouveau grand curl de L'Oréal.
Du fudge au chocolat, du caramel au chocolat et un ruban de chocolat. Le fudge au chocolat au Henry. 33 grands goûts de chocolat.
Sugar, oh honey, honey, you are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you. Sugar, oh honey, honey.
Le dimanche 28 mars, dans le cadre du week-end 48 heures 200% rock, Musique Plus vous présente Grimmskunk, le film.
Qu'est-ce que tu fais quand t'es pas dans un groupe? C'est quoi ta deuxième vocation? Ma deuxième vocation pour moi, c'est de légaliser la drogue.
On croit encore que les lois, c'est une farce, une scandale tout le temps.
Tu tripes comme tu veux triper. C'est vraiment ça l'essence de l'affaire, c'est la liberté.
Grimmskunk, le film, le dimanche 28 mars à 22h. Cruel Intention, la bande originale de 1999. Incluant des chansons de Blur, Placebo, Bear Jr. et Fatboy Slim. Counting Crows, The Verve et Marcy Playground. La bande originale de Cruel Intentions, en vente chez HMV au prix de 14,99.
But we promise you one thing from Metallica, and you know that we always good by our words. We will come back and finish our concert and play again for you as soon as we can within the next couple of months. Thank you, Montreal. We're sorry, okay?
Le 8 août 1992, James Hetfield doit quitter la scène du Stade olympique de Montréal à la suite d'un accident pyrotechnique durant lequel il est gravement brûlé. Quelques heures plus tard, les invités vedettes de la soirée, Axl Rose et son groupe Guns N' Roses, montent sur scène.
He could have been the hero of the day, you know. We continue the show and, you know, the band plays on and we're here to bring music and he throws this fit.
Axl's monitor system wasn't to his liking. Then Storm 2 of the evening kind of happened.
He'd said something into the mic and just threw it down and walked off stage. Axl didn't want to be outdone. And that's when all hell broke loose.
So the kids start freaking, turning over cop cars, fighting the police, burning everything inside.
People just storming into the grandstands and destroying everything. Some cars were on fire, there were people hurt, and we couldn't leave.
I go and light myself on fire, and he upstages me.
And so we went into the dressing room, you know, and they're acting like nothing happened.
Axl's down there with the cigarette holder in one hand and the champagne glass in the other. So my voice is giving me trouble. Your voice is giving me trouble. You shouldn't probably be drinking or smoking.
And it reminded me of what it must have looked like when Rome burned and Nero played a fiddle.
We can relate to Axl and his attitude, you know. So we learned quite a bit on what not to do.
Isn't it funny how history has almost erased Guns N' Roses? One of the great frontmen in the past 20 years disappeared, yet Metallica continues to play anywhere in the world in front of any mass of people, comes out with a new record which will always go platinum. They are the Led Zeppelin of this generation.
Sorti de l'hôpital le lendemain de l'émeute de Montréal, James Hetfield suit une douloureuse thérapie. Il doit chaque jour faire travailler sa main durant 90 minutes. Il faut des semaines avant qu'il puisse serrer le poing et la guitare semble encore loin.
This is not going to bring us down, you know. This is going to take a lot more than that to stop Metallica. We got a friend out to fill in. It's like, you know, I can still sing.
At the time, it was like he wasn't sure that he was going to ever play again.
So John Marshall has been our savior quite a few times. So it pays, you know, if you're a roadie, learn the band's songs. You could end up on stage with them.
He was very, very, very motivated to heal himself as quickly as possible. And James is the kind of guy who doesn't like letting people down.
We've asked a lot from James Hetfield as a band, as people, and he's delivered every time.
It was always, I'm going to play. This is my life, and I don't care what happens. I'm going to continue.
Après 2 ans et demi en tournée, le groupe décide à l'été de 1994 de prendre des vacances illimitées et bien méritées. Kirk se met à étudier le cinéma et les arts asiatiques à San Francisco. Lars fait de la plongée sous-marine et garde un pied dans le milieu de l'art. Jason se lance dans de nouveaux projets musicaux et James se consacre à ses hobbies.
Safer hobbies like hunting, and now I got a motorcycle, hot rods, and, you know, wakeboarding, snowboarding. Plenty of outdoor danger. I love it. Live for it.
Lorsque le groupe se retrouve 1 an plus tard, fin 1995, il se sent plus fort que jamais. Un esprit de collaboration et un nouvel élan créatif règnent dans le studio.
There was a total sense of respect and a total sense of being at ease with what the other person was bringing into it.
Let's lay back a little bit. Let's let Jason and Kirk play what they feel. You know, instead of we're standing over behind them, you know, tapping them on the shoulder. That note, no. I didn't write that note for you. It got really, it was stiff, man.
It's all down to him if we're going to know.
Lyrics are the bottleneck of the whole album.
Après la pause, Metallica repart en tournée.
We've got such a carte blanche at this point. We can play kind of whatever, wherever we want. This freedom is just awesome.
Et on accuse le groupe de s'être vendu.
Yes, we sell out every seat in the house, every time we play, anywhere we play.
Juin 1996, Metallica sort son premier album studio en 5 ans. L'autre entre en première place du palmarès Billboard, mais ce 6e album provoque une polémique inattendue.
I can understand, like, this kid has the photo from 1991 from the Black Album. That's my Metallica. The next photo he sees is 5 years later, and it's on this other record that has semen on the cover. And these guys on the back in Cuban pimp suits with martinis and cigars and no hair. Who is that? It says Metallica on there, but I don't recognize these people.
We were doing the Unplugged in New York. They all showed up, all four of the guys. They're all sitting in a row, and they all had these new short haircuts and stuff. It was pretty funny. So Mike wrote some stuff on his bass about friends not letting friends get friends' haircuts, because they were all GQ looking and cleaned up and stuff.
Metallica is all about music, not the length of our hair.
We've heard the word sell out, you know, from way back.
Nowadays, I welcome it. Come with me with what you got.
Yes, we sell out every seat in the house, every time we play, anywhere we play.
Après presque 20 ans de collaboration, les membres de Metallica ne semblent pas décidés à ralentir le rythme. Suite à la sortie de Reload, leur 7e album en 1998, ils sont à nouveau prêts pour ce qu'ils aiment le plus, partir en tournée.
The upside is playing with 3 of the greatest musicians I've ever played with in my life, and going out on stage and watching the look on the fans' faces when we play their favorite songs, and just to feed off that energy that comes off the crowd, you know. That's a really amazing thing.
And that's why they keep coming back every time, because we have delivered every time, live. That is our forte, and it will hopefully continue to be for quite some time.
And I think that the biggest accomplishment that we can do is to make that last another 10 or 20 years, and finding a way to stick around and challenging ourselves and challenging our audience. And that, I think, will be the ultimate Metallica accomplishment.
We can play kind of whatever, wherever we want. This freedom is just awesome. There's no stop sign in front of us yet, man. We're gonna roll on, and because, you know, like I said, this is family, and we don't know anything else, man. That's it.